Hi everyone, so this is a bit of a weird start to the podcast that you're probably normally used to. For some of the podcasts, hopefully all of them in the new year, I'm uploading a YouTube for a visual as well as Spotify. So if you are listening to this on Spotify and you're like, what is going on? It's because I'm uploading a little video intro as well for the YouTube version. But I thought I would just come on and do an intro like this, basically just to say Happy New Year, because I haven't uploaded a podcast since the start of December. And also just to let you know that this podcast, because of current COVID times, was recorded with my friend Katie via Zoom. So if you are listening to this and the audio sounds like we're speaking to each other through a computer, that is because we are. And if you're watching this, you'll know anyway because you'll be able to see us. So yeah, I just wanted to do a quick little intro before I jump into the podcast with Katie, and I hope you're all well and you enjoy, and I'll speak to you soon.
Katie, it feels so weird doing it over a video.
I'm not quite sure how I feel about it. I feel very exposed.
I'm just going to, before we get into this episode with Katie, me and Katie did do this, try to record this. Was it last week?
Yes.
Yeah, last week. I mean, great. We spoke for like 45 minutes. You know, got it all done. I was like, yeah, I know how to edit it away if we're video call, and then I know what I'm doing. Long story short, I didn't have a clue what I was doing, and the audio sounded horrific. You could basically hear us through each other's screens, which was awful. And then my lovely friend Jack Alberts, give him a little shout out, he's like a bit of a tech whiz when it comes to stuff like this. So I was like, I'll message Jack, please, Jack, tell us what to do. He gave us like a step-by-step of what to do, did that, and it worked. And then I exported it and it still sounded terrible, which wasn't Jack's fault, by the way. It was my fault of being shitty on how I thought I was doing things. Long story short, I don't know what I'm doing, so let's not try and experiment again. But we're here now and we're doing it over Zoom, which is what we should have done in the first place, instead of guessing. So yes, this is my first one of the new year, Katie, and my first guest of the new year. How are you feeling in 2021? I mean, we're on the 12th of Jan. I think, is it the 12th or 13th today? So we're nearly 2 weeks in.
2 weeks into lockdown 3.0.
Yeah, 2 weeks into the pandemic that we're still in. I mean, I wish we were 2 weeks coming out of it, but never mind. How are you well, let's go back a bit. How were you feeling sort of New Year's Eve, maybe from Christmas to New Year, and then now going into the new year? Has your mind changed? Have you shifted a bit? Or
I think this year, normally at the start of New Year, I put a lot of pressure on myself. I'm like, New Year's resolutions, I need to be doing this and this. I don't know if it's because of lockdown or if I'm having an epiphany on life. Yes. But I'm just not putting any pressure on myself.
No.
I haven't, normally I'll be like, right, I'm gonna 1st of Jan eat healthy. I mean, I don't eat healthy from the 1st of Jan anyway, because my birthday is the 2nd of Jan.
Yeah, so from the 3rd.
Yeah, on my birthday.
No.
But yeah, I haven't done it this year. I haven't forced myself to exercise. Mm-hmm. I'm just, when I'm feeling it, I'll do it, basically. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So looking positive, kind of.
It's trying to have, we sort of spoke about this when we recorded last time, trying to not be negative, but be realistic.
Yes, so, realistic is the key
word. So with our goals and stuff, one of my goals wasn't to go to Mauritius in February, because that's not going to happen. But I've still got the hope that I might be going away in August. So it's holding on to
little things,
but not being too realistic and being stupid. Let's be serious.
And I think after last year, you can have little mini goals, but also you're not putting all your eggs in one basket, because very likely that things like this won't happen. So I think just don't get your hopes up too high is another thing.
It's what's that quote? It's hope for the best but expect the worst. So
yes, that is the motto.
Yeah, so I'm not going to be absolutely devastated in August if I don't get on holiday, because at the minute I can't see it happening, but I've got the bit of hope that I might get there. So it's like being not completely negative, but being realistic as well.
Yes.
The goal there. One of my goals for this year was to put my phone down more, because I think being in the house, it's like all it is screens, really. So like, even if I put my phone down, I'm like watching the telly, or I've got like my laptops playing something, or like, because I'm one of these people as well that I can't work in silence. So even if I'm doing uni work or whatever, I like to have, even if it's like a program I'm not watching, like in the background. I don't know if you're like that. I just can't work in complete silence. But if I probably looked at, I don't know if Apple does this, but if I combined all my screen time from last year, I think I'd be disgusted in myself. So, just because that's all the well, I'll say that's all there was to do. Like, there wasn't, but it's the easiest thing to resort to.
I think we'll have to let ourselves off though in these times, because when you think about it, we would normally be going out and like seeing people like all the time.
If you're doing an 8-hour shift at work, on your break you look at your phone, you might check it a couple of times a day, but like, it's in your bag or it's in your pocket. Whereas if you're at home, it's just there.
It's the way to like keep in touch. Like me, Ellie and Sophie have like a Snapchat group, and we just talk constantly, like all day, every day.
Therapy as well though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Like, even if we're just talking about shit, and then like I often, like last night I had a little cry on just because we have our like regular breakdowns, but do you know what, very therapeutic.
No, but the thing is, it's like, we'll laugh it off, but really it's because if you're stuck in house with your family, I mean, obviously it depends on your living situation. You might live with your boyfriend, you might live with your friends, you might live by yourself. But me and Katie both live with our families, and there's been several times in the year where we've wanted to, like, I mean, you love your mum and dad, I love my mum, David, more than anything in the world, but there's been a lot of testing family. And I think they'll say the same about me. I think it's getting on top of each other, always being in the house. Like, I remember David, like, majority of last year, it would be like 10 o'clock in the morning. I would just be getting up, like, having my morning cup, and he's like, what do you fancy for tea tonight? And I'd be like,
can I just breathe for a second?
Like, and if before COVID, because he was so busy with work, I mean, he still is, luckily he has an outside job, so that's like still been going on, but like before COVID, because he was so busy running around everywhere, if at 10 o'clock in the morning I said to him, David, what we're having for tea tonight, he'd be like, are you joking? He'd be like, sorry, do you not think I've got like things to do today? Like, what do you mean? I don't know what we're having for tea. Like, and honestly, me and my mum actually had to say something to him last year. She was like, David, like, I know, it's because, to be fair as well, to give a bit of context, like, David loves cooking, like, he does more everything from scratch and whatever. So like at 10 o'clock in the morning, he'd be like preparing tea because there was nothing else to do. And it's like, but even little things like that would just like grate on each other and like get on top of each other. So I think, going back to the phone thing, although I did beat myself up about like being on my phone all the time, like, if I didn't have the groups with like you and Sophie and like Ellie and Lauren and like the other girls from work, I think I would have like had mental breakdown. Because even though you're sort of talking to yourself on the phone before you send the video, even just like venting it out basically saved my year.
But I think, I know like we live with our families, and I do think you are more aggy with your parents than you would be, say, if you lived with your friends or whatever. But my sister, I'm sure she won't mind us saying, she has been with her husband now since they were 14, and they've always been like proper couple goals, like they just laugh all the time. And like this year, right, they could literally breathe in the other person's direction and honestly can feel the anger. But it's like, this is just such an unnatural situation for anyone to be in. It doesn't matter who you live with. You should not be with someone and just one person or two people 24/7. Like, you need like even like me time. Like, some nights I sit in my room.
Oh yeah. I'm saying just some sort of social interaction with anybody.
Yes, just with anyone else. Like, God, I would love to know how many miles I've walked like in the past year.
Get out of the house.
Just to get out the house, even just on my own.
Yeah. Oh, I love
like
walk by myself.
Shout out Chris and Rosie, Shagged, Married, Annoyed. Got me through lots of very depressing days.
Yes, just going on walks and like laughing. because you're like listening to somebody, even like oh my god, it actually sounds ridiculous, like hearing somebody else's voice, like when you were so used to like you hearing your mum and dad's, like me hearing mum and dad's, like sticking in some headphones and listening to somebody else's issues. Oh my god, like I feel so much better.
Yeah, it's amazing what it can do.
It's mad. But I was saying to my mum as well the other day, like
I need a little, sorry, we need a tiny disclaimer, Ellie.
Oh wait,
my Wi-Fi is shocking.
Oh my god, I thought something had happened there. I was like, oh my god, Katie. I was like, I thought you were going to feel something. Yeah, Katie's Wi-Fi is a bit buffery, so if she doesn't reply to us straight away or if something goes a bit off, it's because
that's what it is.
It's because
carry on.
But I know this is it's virtual. I can't be with her in person to do this, so this is just what we need to do. No, I was saying to my mum a couple of days ago. So Katie was just talking about our sister Anna there, and Anna's got a little girl. So Katie's niece Robin is 2. Well, just turned 2 a couple of days ago, and I said to my mum, I cannot, like, isn't it mad that from Robin being like 1 to 2, she's like lived through this, and I mean is still continuing to now, but like that's a period of her life that she will not remember. Like as a baby, she like, but she's been a huge like saving grace probably for you and your mum, whatever, because obviously Anna and Tim needed like childcare support, so like Robin's been like a big priority of yours in the past year. And I just think, isn't it mad that like you'll tell her about this in the future and she will not have like a Scooby what it is, like she's not even like 4 or 5 where she might remember a little bit. Like it's actually mad.
We were saying this the other day, like we've said this so many times, like I wish I was as blissfully unaware of this whole situation as Robin is, because she can't understand. Like we haven't even tried to explain it to her, because what's the point? She would never understand. But she's so happy all the time because she just like, she has no idea what's going on. So in her little mind, she's just having the best time. But I do think for little ones, like it'll might have lasting effects, because she was only really seen us and Anna and Tim, and she's not around like little kids at all. But my sister's friend, it was Robin's birthday yesterday, my sister's friend brought her little girl around to the driveway just to give Robin a present, and she's 4, and she said to Robin, right, bye Robin, we can play together when the germs are all gone.
Oh, stop it.
I know. Yeah. And that's her understanding of it.
Oh, I literally would have cried on the spot.
I know. And Robin obviously was just like, bye, like she doesn't know. Little, like a little friend like had said, like, when the germs are all gone.
Oh my god, it's not, honestly, that could make me cry.
I know. It's so upsetting, because like it's shit for kids, like bless them, they should be having like making friends and like forming relationships and learning how to share, and like they will not have like got any of this from this year. So
oh my god,
bloody
honestly, I'm going to think about that all night. Wait, like, won't tell me mum, that'll set her off. She'll start crying. I'm surprised it didn't set your mum off.
Oh, we all went, oh.
I can literally imagine your mum being like devastated.
Honestly, yeah, ruined the day.
I think with Zara and Zayn, like my little brother and sister, like they're 6 and 9. Well, Zayn is 7 in the middle of Feb. But like it's weird because they're at an age where like they fully know what's going, like not fully know in terms of like scientific stuff and all that, but like fully know like there's this virus, you catch it, you kind of go, like they're not going to school and like they're doing like this home learning and that. But like although they're at an age where they understand, like I do think like I wonder what is actually going in like on in their minds of a child that age, like being at an age where you understand but you're still very much so a child, like in what way they take it. Like I think Zara is quite old before our years anyway, she is like a mini teenager, but like for Zayn being like 6 nearly 7, I think like although he knows, like I wonder how they're like.
Yeah, I also think it must be so difficult for parents with kids of that age, because how much do you tell them and how much do you explain without freaking them out? Because like I can't imagine like at that age it sounds terrifying, like it is terrifying to us, but we're kind of at a point where we're adults and we're like just have to get on with it. But at their age you kind of want to shelter them a little bit from the horrors of the world.
I remember in March, and when in like March, April sort of time, when it was like rife. You know, when like the schools were opening everywhere, was still sort of like the schools were still open, but like places were shut, and it was like, but some things were open and some, it was like a bit of the in between. Like I think Jennifer, if I can remember right, she might have to correct us on this, but I don't think she told them that much at first, probably because we didn't know it was going to go on to this extent. And then when they were off school, and I think she probably just said in simple terms, like, yeah, it's like germs, virus, like you can catch it, so that's why the school's shut or whatever. But then I think it must have been, I haven't really asked her what the responses have been in terms to this, but like it must have been very confusing when the schools went back. So it's like almost the kids are like, all right, so we're totally fine now.
It's fine now.
Like,
well, no,
like,
not really, but
like,
yeah.
and it's like, oh no. And then I would speak to Zara on the phone and I'd be like, it's like they couldn't really play, Zara and Zane like to play together at break time with the friends. And they couldn't do that because obviously there were separate classes. So the separate classes were separate bubbles and all that, even though obviously they lived together. So it was like, they were going back to school, but they were like I don't know, it's weird, isn't it? And then obviously then they were off school again just after Christmas. No, sorry, they went back to school just after Christmas for a few days. And then
I know, it's shocking on kids, like
back homeschooling again. I mean, I think from touch wood and from the sounds of it, I don't think they've been affected to the point where they've been like really upset and worrying what's going on. And I think more as well because Jennifer's a pharmacist, so they're like know that like Mam's got a job where she's sort of like helping. Like, and I think that's probably like a good visual for them when Jennifer's been at work a lot, like similar to if you're a nurse or a doctor or a care worker or whatever, your kids probably see you and think, oh well, Mum or dad's like going to help, so it's like a bit more of a visual thing. But like they are funny though, like I don't think it's affected them too much, which is good. And Zane is so funny, like the other day I was on FaceTime with Zara and he like ran in the room and he was like, Mum's bought me a Chromebook and it's coming tomorrow. But like Jennifer had already told us, like she's bought me for school. Like
yeah.
I was like, it's for your school though, your school work. And he was like, and he just looked at me and was like, because he obviously didn't know that Jennifer had, and he was like, right.
Well, that's
not to play on, like, and he was like, all right, okay. And then he's like, so it's just so funny. Oh, the like how the little minds tick over. But God, very, very funny. But talking of kids and talking of like Anna and Tim, it's a good segue into what me and Kate usually spend most of our days talking about, and it's like having a quarter life crisis. just to keep it lovely and light-hearted.
Yeah.
So you just had a birthday at the start of Jan. So many January birthdays, by the way. You just had a birthday at the start of Jan, where you turned 26. I'm sure you won't mind us saying. And I feel like it's been a bit of a like reflective year for you. I don't know if you elaborate on that. Just looking back at your last birthday when we were celebrating and stuff. And
yeah, so like before my 25th birthday in 2000, I'm so confused about all the years. It was 2020. I turned 25. Yeah. Just before that, I like got out of a very long-term relationship. It was like 7 years. So I had kind of, this sounds very dramatic, but it's very true. I had never, like, I didn't know what it was like to be on my own and like focus on myself. Because I feel like when you're with someone, you've been with someone for that long, you're constantly like, everything you do, you kind of have to consider them in every decision you make. So like, I think stuff like I didn't move away for uni. Like I always stayed in Newcastle, which in hindsight, I don't know if I would have done, but you just never know. Because I think a lot of like the decisions I made, I had to like consider him in those situations. So I stayed in Newcastle for uni, which like I'm glad I did, because I applied to do occupational therapy at Northumbria, which I thought I really wanted to do at the time. Went for the interview, thought like this is going swimmingly, like did the group interview. It was like a presentation, which normally to me is like hell on earth. Like I hate talking in front of people and everyone looking at me. Like if I can see like several eyes looking at me, I'm like, ugh, like I could throw up on the spot. But somehow I did it really well. I think it was because it was a group, so it wasn't like all eyes were on me.
I think sometimes your nerves like can be a good thing. Sometimes if it gives you like adrenaline and you just sort of
I was like jumping in front of other people, chatting over them. So I was like, I've got more to say. But yeah, so I came out and then texted my mum being like, oh, I've got it. Like, I'm doing occupational therapy at uni. And then went into a like interview on my own with 2 people. They were very scary. They didn't nod, they didn't smile, they just asked us questions, stared into my soul. And I was like,
oh, it's terrible. I think it just automatically puts you off.
Mind blank, like didn't stop.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Like a bit of encouragement. You need right tracks, but I had no clue what, if anything, that I was saying is like
relevant.
Can you hear me right now?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, my connection went.
Oh,
yeah. So
Wi-Fi's gone again now.
Bloody hell, man. Andy. This is Andy scrimping and getting off Virgin and going on bloody Sky. Anyway, yeah. So then I came out of that second interview and was like, right, well, probably don't have it, and I didn't get it. And I was devastated. I like cried my eyes out. And I think for me, it was more so that it was like a personal rejection than it was that I actually really wanted to do it, because I take things very personally.
I do as well.
And I was thinking like, it's because of me, like it's because I'm shit. Like I just didn't
like
come
in
off
the back
well.
of your head, that might have not even been your dream job, but because they've said no, it's like, oh well, what's wrong with it? Like, why would I accept it?
I was like devastated.
Yeah.
And then hindsight's a wonderful thing, because now I look back and I'm like, oh, like that isn't actually, I'm really glad I didn't do that job. No offense to any OTs, amazing job. It's just not for me. So then I applied to do psychology at Northumbria, and I got in to do that, and now I've got my degree, and I like literally love psychology so much. I can't imagine doing anything else. I don't know what I'm going to do as a job, but I know that I want it to be related to psychology, because I just find it fascinating. So yeah, I can't even remember what the question was, Ellie, because I've got on a tangent.
Oh, from your birthday, having like a bit of an epiphany from your last birthday.
Yes. So like now I am going to be applying for jobs. It's on my New Year's resolution, and I'm going to get a job this year. I know I am.
Oh, we're manifesting it. We've put it out. Put it out.
Manifesting, exactly. Like,
yeah.
Like obviously me and Ellie work in Phoenix in All Saints. Woo! Best stylists in town. Yeah, that's how we met actually, but I worked for Mango at the time.
Yeah, I know. Well, yeah, how me and Katie met was Katie worked for Mango in, what year did you start working for? Can you remember?
Oh, I dread to think. About 5 years ago.
About 5 years ago. And then, long story short, I was still in maybe going into sixth form. I can't like work out ages, you can't remember, can you? And I was like looking for a part-time job. I was like, right, like I'd worked in a restaurant since I was 16, and I absolutely loved it, to be fair. Like worked there for a year. But then sort of like the management changed and it shifted a bit, and I started like not enjoying it as much. And I was like, right, and also I was when I was starting getting closer to like 17, obviously people were having like house parties on the weekend or like having plans, and I would always miss it because obviously working in a restaurant, I was working at like 1 o'clock in the morning, like on a Friday and Saturday night, and you can't argue it, because if you're a young person working in a restaurant, like you just basically work the hours that you're told to work. So it started getting to that point as well where I was like, oh no, like I need something more like during the day and like more sociable. So my friend at school at the time, she worked for, who was it? Some concession, I can't even remember now, some concession in House of Fraser in the Metro Centre. And she was like, oh, there's a temporary position came up at Mango in House of Fraser. So I was always meant to end up there. And then basically, because like it had taken so long to get sorted or like get the contract drawn up or whatever it was, by the time it was my start date, like they told us, I'd signed a contract and they were like, yeah, you're working for us. They actually closed the Mango in House of Fraser that I was meant to be at. So my first shift was going to House Fraser and like shut that all down. And like that's where I was supposed to be.
That's so weird.
That was literally my first shift. So obviously because I'd signed a contract and everything, they couldn't just be like, oh, well, now we don't have a job, because it wasn't my fault the concession had closed. They were like, oh, we've got one in Phoenix in Newcastle. So like, are you fine to go there instead? So obviously I was like,
Ellie, thank God.
I know, can you imagine? Like I wouldn't have even met all my like brilliant work friends. It's weird, isn't it? Thinking about if things had happened like a certain way. So obviously I was like, yeah, it's like 6 and 2 3s, like being in Newcastle, being in the Metro Centre, it didn't make a difference to me. So started at Mango where Katie was in Phoenix. And to be fair, we didn't see a lot of each other when we worked at Mango together, did we? Because Mango was a really, like, well, still is a small concession. So, like, there's rarely that there's a few people working at a time. So, usually we just, like, miss each other when we're swapped over shifts. So, because my contract was temporary, it was, like, maybe, like, 3 months or something. I was like, oh, shit, now I need to, like, find another job. And there was, like, a position at All Saints. I mean, long story short, I went back to House Fraser and came back. Like, that's just a whole different story. But, and I ended up at All Saints, obviously, right next to Mango. And that's when we started to become friends, because if we were on a late shift together, Katie would be on Mango and then I'd be on All Saints. So I think that's probably when we started like chatting and stuff, wasn't it? Because when we actually worked at Mango together, we didn't see each other a lot. And then Katie made the shift to All Saints as well. And now we're both working there.
Basically, All Saints just poaches all the staff.
Yeah, literally, like our manager Sam, she'll laugh at this, but she gets like all the other managers are like think that Sam's gonna like hound the staff at some point. And now we've got Evie as well that came from Karen Millen.
Oh, yeah.
Also, it's just, and Emma came from Topshop as well.
Yeah.
It's like you just, everyone ends up with All Saints because it's just the best, so that's fine.
That's true.
But yeah, and then me and you got like really close, maybe like 2019, was it? I couldn't think, you know, when you think in hindsight. It's because last year was just a blur, so I don't really count it as a year, so I don't really know what happened before then. And we started going on like staff nights out, and then like we've formed like a really close-knit group of girls that'll be listening, and just from there we've all been like each other's agony aunts, haven't we?
Literally. I love it though.
Yeah, same. It's just brilliant. It's just great. So, and yeah, and I mean, over the short time, maybe 3-4 years, briefly known each other, it's been like made some good memories.
We definitely have.
Even like talking about your birthday, like I know we'll not reveal them all. Like, even talking about your birthday last year makes me sad, because it was like, oh, we're around yours, and it was like
the last hurrah, because we had no idea what was to come.
Yeah, like to think that was in the start of Jan. I didn't know what Corona was at the start of Jan.
Nah, we might have heard of it, but we were like very naive to be like, nah, it's not going to come to England.
I literally did not watch the news before like last year.
Nah.
So if something,
and I don't now, because it's so depressing.
Yeah, I don't know anymore. But like, I wouldn't have known. Oh, and we're around yours, we're having gin, and we're playing like card games, and like just dancing about.
It was the best.
It was so,
One day.
One day. I know. What was it that I had shared on my story, and you were like, oh my god, imagine this like quote thing. I'm gonna try and get it up.
The one that was it after work drinks in the sun.
Yeah, that somebody had put on. I can't remember who it was that had actually put it on.
But looking back at like last year, like you do start to appreciate the small, like literally the smallest things.
Yeah, literally. Oh, it's not
like,
London, but it's
even sitting having a coffee in like a cafe.
Yeah.
Like not even, I don't want to go to a club.
No,
don't want to do it.
I
just want to go somewhere I can have a little bit of a dance, like a bar. I want to have a dance and sing to like a prayer.
Yeah. Oh my god, yeah. That is mine and Katie's karaoke song, Like a Prayer by Madonna. I feel, well, when, I don't know, whenever the last time it was that we sang it, I didn't feel like we sang it a lot. And then when it was like Katie's birthday not just one, but the year before, I literally found like 6 different videos of us singing
because Ellie, it's madness, but whenever I'm out with you, it comes on. It's like every time we've been out, it comes on, and we're like
look at each other and we're like and it's so bad, like all the videos would just sound like it's cat being strangled.
No, because I remember, so Dan, our friend from All Saints, again, is a very good singer. Oh God, something's just dropped. Don't know what that was. I sent him, I don't know why I did this, but on Snapchat I sent him a little video of us singing to a song. And he went, "What? You're actually like Arit?" Like, what? And I was like, "Yeah, because me and Ellie screech like a prayer."
Oh my God, I know, like Dan and Beth, I mean, we didn't have a Christmas night out I'm saying like this year, but like last year just gone, 2020 December. But 2019 December, when we had our Christmas night out with work, oh my gosh, it was just like so funny, like absolutely hilarious. And I mean, like Dan, who we've just mentioned, and Beth as well, who we're with, are like fantastic singers, like unbelievable. Follow them both on social media.
Shout out Beth Brown, Dan Wales.
Yes, shout out Beth Brown and Dan Wales. They're both uploading stuff on TikTok as well, so follow them there. But they're both like amazing singers, like can play instruments like professional level. And we all went to Cozy Joe's on the Christmas night out, and I mean all of us singing except them two were like, it was diabolical, like horrific. So like Dan and Beth would sing like some amazing duet, and then me and Katie would get up and sing like a prayer and like screech the full place down. Like, horrendous. But then when they sing, like we're all just like, oh, as if we've like never heard them before, don't we?
Yeah.
Like Sam, our boss.
Wow.
Oh my God, wow. Absolutely like loves them singing. And I remember one of the shifts, like maybe it was like a week or two after the Christmas night out, Beth was like due to start work, and me and Sam were in the office, and Sam was like, "Quick, I'm going to get a video up and I'm going to be listening to her when she comes in." And like Sam just had like Beth's singing video playing, and Beth walked in and she was like, "What's going on?" She was literally like, honestly, like, just like, this is so weird. But that's because Beth doesn't realise how good she is as well, though. She's like, she doesn't give herself enough credit. So when we're all like, oh my God, we're sitting listening to her, she's like, oh my God,
cringe.
Like, pack it in. Oh God. But it's like, it's sad because like even talking about like being in the work office, like, I'd just go back to the work office just to do a little cheeky shift just to see everybody.
I know. This is it. Like even work at the minute, like after the first lockdown, when Sam had rang and was like, who wants to come back, whatever, like me and Ellie were both like, I don't know how I feel, like, do I want to or do I really not want to? It was such a weird moral dilemma where you're like, I kind of really want to see people, but I'm a bit nervous about going back to work. So it's just very different from being in the house pretty much for 3 months, and like that was a very strict lockdown, like we didn't see each other, to like suddenly getting on the metro or whatever and going into work and serving like the public. It was like very like nerve-wracking, and me and Ellie were like, oh, I don't know how I feel. And then Sam rang me and was like, do you want to come back? And I was like, yeah. And then I rang Ellie after. She was like an X Factor reject, like, are you going back? Well, I'm not going back.
It was because we'd all like, she'd sort of said like maybe not a month before, maybe a couple of weeks before, like if we open, who wants to come back? And I think a majority of us said like, we're all like willing to, because, you know, like even though we were a bit like undecided, you don't want to be the person that's like, no, I'm not. So I think all sort of said yes, but what she'd said, like, yous won't all be coming back. Obviously, we only have so many people in the building, like so many staff, so it'll only be like maybe 4 or 5 of you. So we're like, right. So we were under the impression that we wouldn't all be back. And then like we had calls scheduled, and I remember I said, Katie, I'm like, bring it straight away when you find it. And like Katie said, Trax, and she was like, yeah, I'm going back. And I was like, well, I'm not.
And then I went, do you want us to have a word with Sam? And you were like, no.
I was a bit like, oh, like sort of a bit FOMO because you were going back. But then when you were like, shall I say, like, maybe you come back, I was like, oh, actually, nah, it's fine.
After like 2 weeks of being back, I was like,
I think
let me feel old again.
Because it was the summer. So like thinking about the first lockdown, I mean, it was still very, very difficult for obviously a multitude of reasons. But I got up early every morning because it was sunny and the sun woke us up. I was out in the garden for 10 o'clock, having my cup of tea out in the garden, either listening to music, listening to a podcast, somebody that I was just speaking to James's mum this morning, and we were talking about how we had like holiday tans from the first lockdown. I look at photos of myself and I look like I've been on a 3-week holiday.
Yeah.
Because it was like the best summer. And if we hadn't, a lot of people, there was a lot of conflict and things because loads of people were like, oh, I'd love to be in a beer garden, or oh, it's so shit because we've like wasted this summer. But had it have not been like that, to be out and sitting in the garden every day, I think I would have been a lot worse.
100%. The weather, I think the weather really affects
it a lot.
mood.
Yeah. I think it saved my mood a lot of days. And I was more motivated to like exercise. I mean, we were like, oh my God, me, you and Sophie were gym bunnies in the first bloody lockdown.
Oh my God, we couldn't be stopped. Well, we're alcoholics as well.
Yeah, there was.
But like you've got to have a balance.
There was a definite 50-50 of exercising and being an alcoholic. Like, yeah. But
it's all about balance.
Yeah, like we couldn't be stopped. Like the Lucy off Towie, if anyone obviously knows of her, she's got like a fitness page. So we were like, they had workouts on every day. We were like, oh, you're getting up in the morning at 8 o'clock in the morning to do like this HIIT workout, and we were like, yeah, and like all three of us were doing. I mean, now I'm like, if
I better get out of bed.
I've got to force myself to go for me walk because it's that cold. So I think the weather, like, I don't think like seasonal depression is a real thing, 100%. I think even before COVID, like even if we take COVID out of the equation, I get the January blues every year. I hate it. Like going from doing and actually even for us doing the job that we do, obviously last year was different, but usually it's our busiest time of year. We've got so much going on, like we're all doing overtime, so we're dead busy, and it's like a great time of year to work around Christmas in retail because there's the demand for people being there all the time, obviously except from last year. We're going out on Christmas parties, you go out Christmas Eve, you go out Boxing Day, you've got New Year's Eve, and then you hit January and you're like, this is horrendous.
Everything just stops, doesn't it?
Stops, yeah. Like we'll go back. Maybe that's one saving thing about being in lockdown now. I'm glad that we haven't had to work throughout January because it's a horrible time.
It is horrible in retail.
It's horrendous. Like we stand then, you go from us being like 4 of us in all together or whatever, and then you just by yourself and there's like no one there, and you're like and it's awful.
Oh yeah. So to be honest, saving grace that we're not there right now.
That is one thing. There's a positive. That's one positive of being in. I mean, it only applies sort of to us and people that have a similar job that would be like that. But yeah, January's just.
See, like I don't normally. For me, it's really weird. Every year since I can remember, like even being, I don't know if it was associated with school, because I remember even being in high school, and when September came, I had like really like just like really anxious, and I don't know if it was something to do with like going back to school when you've been off for so long, but I still get it now, even though obviously I'm long out of school. I don't know if it's just ingrained in my brain that in September things are changing and you're just a bit like uneasy. And I think it's because September is the end of the summer, it's autumn, and you know that it's not going to be summer again for a very long time. So I this year got vitamin D supplements because I'd read loads about it. And I was like, do you know what, I may as well just give it a go. And I really do think I haven't been anywhere near as bad as I normally would be.
That's so interesting. It's like, because if you think of people in other countries as well that have like so much more bloody sun than we do, I mean, we're lucky that we got the summer that we did this year in England, in the UK in general. But yeah, I remember you saying like, oh, like now it's getting colder, we're not outside as more, like there's no sun, whatever. And I remember you saying that you were buying them.
But when you read up on it, like because we live in England, and like although we had an amazing summer, that was like very unusual. Like we don't normally get that much sun.
No, we don't.
And even then, it was only 4 months out of like maybe 5 months, not 4 months probably, out of like a whole 12. Like even in the summer in England, you don't get as much vitamin D as you actually need. So you should take it all, like not all year, but all of like autumn, like winter and spring. Because like I was reading this research article, can't remember what it was, but it was basically saying that like most people in Britain are like deficient in
vitamin D. It's like there's no surprise really though if you think about it, like it's shocking really.
I always say like I would be a much happier human being if I lived in a hot country.
I know. It's like the thing is though, there's like no pleasing Brits, is there? Because like you go on holiday and it's like 30 degrees and you're like, oh right, I need some shade now, I'm too hot. But like here you're like, oh, it's freezing, I wish I lived in like a tropical.
No. We just love to complain really.
But to be fair, I think that's why Brits, not saying that Brits are the only people that love a holiday, but I think that's why Brits love going on holiday so much, and probably having that taken away from a lot of people last year really affected them. Because although we had a good summer, which was like we say a blessing, usually we don't expect a summer, do it? Like we expect it to be warm, but we don't expect that it is going to be guaranteed, because it never is. Because one day it could be 27 degrees and the next day it could be like 12. So like we don't guarantee it. So I think not having a holiday last year, that I think when I knew that we, like me and James, our holiday wasn't going ahead, I was like, oh, because I think like we work to like for our holidays, don't we? And we're like, it's having something to look forward to and being like, oh yes, for that 2 weeks I'm going to be like bathing in 30-degree heat. And then when I was like, oh, I'm not getting away on holiday, it was like, oh God, like, which to be fair, I spoke about in previous episodes of the podcast, because I remember at the time, probably if you haven't listened, go back and listen, the shift in the way that I think like changed a lot. Because I can't remember what episode it was, but when I was sort of like not complaining but having a bit of a like shit time about not going on holiday and stuff, and then I remember recording it and thinking like, oh my God, like that's ridiculous, like people losing their lives, like that's such a minimal thing to be upset about. But honestly, the amount of messages I got from people being like, honestly, like I feel the same, like I feel so upset about being selfish and having personal things taken away from us. And then I'm like, oh, I look at the bigger picture and I'm like, oh my God, you're so lucky just to have what you have at the minute. But it shows that we do all think the same, like although it is absolutely terrible that obviously what has happened, in God, so many people have been affected more than like me and you, like we're lucky that we haven't been affected, like us two, when we've been fine. Like it's like meaning like, what am I trying to say, like your feelings are still like valid. So if you're feeling upset or feeling like shitty about something, even this year, like if you've got a holiday coming up in like March and April and you're like, oh, like I'm probably not going to get on that holiday, although it's still awful and what, like you still are allowed to be upset about that. Like I definitely had a shift last year where I was like, you need, like you've got to understand, like what you were saying before, like this is so alien and you are allowed to like feel that the way that you feel. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Like I think we both probably had a lot of that last year, and I think that's probably where it's like a full circle chat, like that's where the Snapchat group sort of happened, because we'd like rant to each other about it and be like, I'm sick of this. But yeah, because I mean you were lucky to get away when I say lucky, you went in a very dodgy
time, because I went to Thailand in I think it was the very end of Feb last year. And I was wearing masks the whole, like not the whole time, but like on the flights. And I remember getting on, it was very, I was fine once I was on the islands. Every time you got a ferry you had to get your temperature taken and all that jazz. But like I think when you're on holiday on a beach in the sun and you drink and you're not really thinking about it. Whereas I look back at this pool party that me, Faye and Abigail went to, the video, well, I had no recollection of it anyway because I was absolutely like blottoed. But like I look back and I see the video and I think, if I didn't catch COVID, then I'm invincible because it was dirty.
Yeah. It's
like,
well, I remember, I don't know how far in advance it was to you going on holiday, but you and me went to the gym after work. Do you remember? And you were like, oh my God, like this coronavirus is getting worse. Like, I don't know what's going to happen with my holiday, because you kept updating like what was it, like the World Health thing?
Yeah.
You were like, do we cancel it? And I was like, but you had paid a lot of money, and it was like, and I remember then you were like, yeah, I don't know what's going to happen. And then when you were like, right, no, it's going ahead. And then I remember you sent in the work group chat like a photo of you getting your temperature taken.
I was so hungover that day. And then what happened? So I got on the ferry. I was so hungover.
I can't figure out how to do it. Like, for anyone who's watching the video, I'll try and like find the photo to insert somewhere. Because honestly, right, Katie sent this photo in the work group chat. But it's mad because looking back, that was so normal, because now you get your temperature taken and whatever in a lot of places. But we were like, oh my God, like shit, this is serious. Like, she's away and like this is happening. But you were so hungover in the photo. It was just great.
And I got on this, so I was ill. I got on this ferry, right, and I was still being sick on the ferry. So I went into the toilet and I had my sunglasses on my head, and this is so like too much information, but I'm going to say it anyway. And I was being sick into the toilet, and then my sunglasses fell into
the toilet. No,
these are really expensive.
Oh, hang on, she's buffering again. Oh my God, this is
wait
there, that was the best bit of the story, and you buffered. Wait, go on again. Sorry, so your sunglasses fell in the toilet. It was like a suspense there. I was like, no.
So my sunglasses went in the toilet. And they were really expensive, and I thought, I'm not ready to let these go.
I know, pick them out. That's so terrible.
I picked them out. Yeah. I got my hand sanitizer, just like squeezed them and was like this. And then 2 days later, I went to the pool party, woke up, lost my sunglasses, hadn't I?
Yes, I remember.
But luckily my passport and phone was still in my bag, so that's like, we can count with blessings. Yeah, but then on the way back from Thailand, we were in the airport, and on our plane, like on the screen, it said, not on our plane, on our what's it called, terminal. God, I've forgotten all the words because I haven't been
in a bloody airport that long.
On the thing, there was loads of flights from Wuhan coming in, and we were like, I can't believe this. Like, how was this happening? There was about 10 flights from Wuhan coming into Dubai, and we were like, oh shit. We had about 3 masks on.
Yeah, like I know, that was mad. But to be fair, anyone in your position when you'd like paid the money and you were told the holidays go ahead would have went on holiday, because at the time, although we'd started to hear about it, we didn't get locked down till like into March. Do you know what I mean? So it was like you sort of came back just at the right time.
Like, yeah. Oh, I'm so glad I went. So glad.
Like, when I think I went to Paris with uni on the 11th of Feb. And I mean, I was like, not that I was none the wiser, I'd probably heard of them. Like, it's weird, isn't it? Because I think of a timeline in my head. I don't know when I properly was like, oh my God, this is serious. Like, I can't remember what month that I was like,
I think when I can't remember when it exactly was, but I remember seeing on the news that it was in Newcastle. There was 2 patients in Newcastle, and I thought, oh, of course they're in bloody Newcastle.
Came here, like,
bring them here. Go on.
Yes, you've literally unlocked a memory that I literally forgot I had. I remember even us discussing it at work when them 2 people had been brought here, in the hat, like there was just like plastic sheets and stuff around everywhere, and people walking in them like suits that looked like they were in Stranger Things, and I remember being like, oh God,
this isn't great.
But yeah, like I went to Paris and on the 11th of Feb came back. I remember it was Valentine's Day when I came back, and I was like, I mean, me and James went out for Valentine's Day the next day. We were in Like, we were in town, we went to Malmaison for afternoon tea, we were out having drinks. Little did we know, like a month later, everywhere would be shut.
I'm quite glad we didn't know though, because we might not have enjoyed things as much if we were as like terrified.
Well, what was that you were sharing, like memories from the year on your story just before the new year? And that day that us and the work girls that we spoke about went out for food and drinks.
That was the day before.
That was like the day or two before we were locked down.
We went to Market Shaker, which if people don't know, is a bar in Newcastle.
It's so dirty. It's so dirty.
Honest to God, there was about 100 people crammed into that bar. You couldn't get moved. We were hand sanitising on the dance floor, like as if that was going to make a difference. When everyone's sweating on each other, like
we're like stood like this with hand sanitizer. Who wants some? Yeah, and we were like, that's when places were still opening. We went for food after work, like. went and had Italians, we had a couple of bottles of wine, then we're like, oh, where should we go? We'll go to March. Like, went to like a club. Like, it's not like a club, but it is like a club vibe. Like, it's not as if you sit around and sit on a table, like you dance.
Oh, we're dancing.
Yeah. And I mean and then a few days later it was like, right, everything's shut. We're like, oh
well, I'm glad we did it while we could.
I know. That was like that. Can you believe that was our like last time all of us were out together, and that was in March.
God, and that's it's coming up to a year ago.
I know, and we're not going to get it.
Ellie, we've made this a very COVID related chat, haven't we?
I know I didn't want to do this, but it's like you've got to.
We haven't just talked about COVID, but we've talked about like.
To be fair, I think as well, it's like I like to hear it like from not like, you know, like we say we don't watch the news, like not a bloody news point of view where it's all just like fact after fact and like annoying, horrible things. Like I think when you speak about your own experiences and whatever, like hopefully someone will relate to this, or they'll have a laugh from our like breakdowns, because you're probably thinking, yeah, I literally also had that breakdown. Do you know what I mean? Like I feel like especially for girls, like hopefully girls that are listening to this, like all girl groups are the same, and I'm sure everyone's had like the same like chats and mental breakdowns that we've had. So yeah, I'm like, I hate talking about it, but sometimes you just it's got to be relevant, isn't it? I mean, I couldn't come on for like my first one of 2021 and be like, so how's your year been? As if
I think it would be impossible to not talk about it.
I mean, imagine if I hadn't like sort of pre-warned you and I was just like, so Katie, how's your fantastic year been? You'd literally be like, are you joking? Like,
yeah, I mean, I've done bot all.
Like, it hasn't been fantastic at all, really, though. Like, so it's got to be spoke about, but that's, I feel like we've given our like good roundup of the year, so that this is like a good one to start on going 2021.
And when you do more podcasts throughout the year, they'll become less COVID related, hopefully.
I hope I'm not.
They will. I have a lot of faith.
I hope we're not like sitting like we are here in 6 months' time and like.
Ellie, I can't do it.
I'm not doing it again. It's not happening again. Not doing it again.
I can't.
Oh God. But, yeah, I think we'll wrap it up here, because I mean we've been rabbiting on for I don't even know how long, to be honest, but I'll soon find out. So yes, thank you so much to everyone for listening, and wherever you're watching, because now I'm like putting it for anyone who's listening or for anyone who's watching as well. Do both. I would do both, listening to it twice. I mean, anyone would want to do that. But yeah, and just a quick thing to say why I'm doing this as well, to anyone who doesn't know. I put like an Instagram poll on, and I've had a couple of people as well say like, actually mentioning Jack again. He's getting loads of shout outs today. He was like, you need a video it, like put it on different platforms and stuff, you know, to reach more people. So hopefully that this does, and we have, and hopefully it's more interactive, seeing our faces if you like to watch it as well as opposed to listening to it. But I'm still going to upload it on Spotify regardless, so for people who do just like to listen on your walks or whatever, it's still going to be there. I'm not going to take it away from there. But yes, thank you so much to my first guest of the year virtually, Katie, for joining.
You're very welcome.
And we'll speak to everyone soon, and I'll speak to everyone in the next one.
You have been listening to C Cups and Teacups, the podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure you download, stream and follow, and there'll be lots more episodes coming soon.